Welcome to the Only Male Cruise Show, the podcast. I am the only male cruise. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Let's go to work. All right. Welcome to the Only Male Cruise Show, the podcast. I am the only male cruise. All right, y'all, be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, replay gang, leave a comment. Y'all, you know what? I don't know. I just don't know why. Sometimes I just get nervous right before it's time to go live. And I guess I just need to go live more often so I can get over being nervous. But thanks for pulling up, y'all. Shout out to Tony Reed, Alvira Ward. Thank you. Appreciate y'all pulling up. Yeah, so you know what? We're really just, if you were here last night, then, we kind of, before I ended the live last night, I said that I was going to come back live today, which really it should have been earlier, but either way, I said I was going to come back live today so we could go over a couple of things that needed to happen. Thank you, Alvira. I appreciate that, girl. That makes me feel a little bit better. But yeah, I always get nervous. It's like ridiculous. But anyway, so I said we were going to go over a couple of things because, there's still some mystery. We still not all the way sure on who Minor One is, because really the way they describe Minor One, it could be, I guess, was it Lashana Fair? I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but it could be that person. That's a 2008 case. But then sometimes the way it's written, it's like, in the motions, it's like, well, dang. So it'll be great to find out who these people are. So again, I encourage everybody, if you know who's on first and what's on second, then by all means, drop it in the chat so we can all know. All right. So really, to be honest with you, I think, let me start with this guy right here, because this is the, I had done a live with this guy right here, but when I hit the playback, I was like, oh my goodness, this was horrible. Microphone was all jacked up. So I just put that video on private, but I have a feeling that this guy right here is going to end up being a, surprise witness, a surprise to us, but not necessarily Bonjean and them. But, because he was just recently released, I think, well, not released, but his sentence was straightened out. He got time served, and he only had to pay $100 to the court. And so what he did was he didn't have a jury trial or anything like that. Richard Arline Jr., he didn't have a jury trial or anything. He just pled his allocution right there in front of Judge Ann Donnelly. And I'm going to go over some of the stuff that, why he really wound up being in the case. And that's mostly because, it seems like he was doing his own thing and tried to get Jane Doe number 5 to accept some money. So it's like he tried to bribe her, but they're trying to make it seem like Kells was behind it. But when he did his allocution in front of Judge Ann Donnelly, all he said was, yes, I did this. Yes, I attempted to bribe her, and I'm sorry. And that was it. Donnelly didn't go in further and say, well, who told you to do it? Why did they do it? Et cetera, et cetera. Explain what happened on what night. Was it raining? You know what I'm saying? Was it a full moon? She didn't ask for any of that information. So what he did allocute to, or what he admitted to, what he didn't say was that Kels, he did it on behalf of Kels. So that's, so we're just going to get into some of what the Homeland Security investigation agent, what he wrote in his statement. But I think before we get to that, um, in this statement, our line right here, he actually mentions. I think that he mentions this guy. Let me run this video real quick, y'all. Check this out.
Our relationship is I work for Mr. Greenberg, part of Mr. Kelly's team to help him navigate his way through this court process. I'm a crisis manager. That's what I am. That's what I do. I come in and I help my client navigate, and that's what I'm doing. I don't know the Savages. I talked to the Savages 1 or 2 times. I set some meetings up. They canceled the meeting. The meeting didn't happen. That's what happened.
Are you speaking on behalf of Mr. Kelly? Did he ask you to speak?
On what? He doesn't have to have you speak. I'm hired. That's what I do.
And he's hired you. You're hired to do the law firm, not by in person.
I work with Mr. Kelly and Mr. Greenberg.
Okay.
So if I speak, I'm speaking.
And so that guy right there, Daryl Johnson, now he's a trip. He looks good in his suit, though. I ain't mad at him. He looks like he works out. I ain't mad at him. But this is the same guy that, he went on Gayle King's show, told, Gayle King asked him, said, yeah, would you leave your daughter around, R. Kelly? And he says, I would leave my daughter. And again, the daughter's 23 years old. He's like, oh, I wouldn't leave my daughter around nobody that's accused, that's a pedophile. Okay, she's a grown adult. And so technically, a pedophile's not even going to be interested in her. So, and shortly after he made that statement on national TV, he resigned. And that's why I think, that I think he would, I don't want to say a plant, but somebody did say that he used to work. Well, no. Let me get that right. But I think this guy was a plant, to be honest with you. Let me shout out this chat real quick. James Finch, free R. Kelly. Thanks for pulling up, y'all. Let me see. I think the motion, she will testify, so that could only be Rashonda. Yeah, it's finally caught my strong. Right on, Mac Dine. Appreciate you. Thank you. Anita Anderson, hello. Thanks for pulling up, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Shout out to Bree. Let's see. Hey, Howard. Hey, girl. Good evening to you. Carla McWilliams. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. So anyway, I think that this Daryl Johnson, I think he was working, really working against Kels coming out the gate. I think that he came in, he saw how easy a mark that Kels is, and decided to just go ahead and, try to hit a lick. All right. Because he got it in him. Because he was put up on some charges. He was indicted for, I think, theft and fraud or something of that nature. And again, I tried to find out, if the hearing has gone on, and if he got, what type of sentence, if anything, found guilty or whatever. And I can't seem to find that updated information. So I guess we'll see. But here's the other thing that why I think this guy is skeptical, because we all know that Michael Avenatti unfortunately, is a whole trick. Okay. He's a whole trick. And all of a sudden, before Avenatti got locked up, remember, he was talking about how he's got tapes and, thus and so, and against R. Kelly and all this and that. And he was, pontificating as though, his word could be trusted, as though his word is bond. But we know now for certain that Michael Avenatti, he's exactly where he needs to be, which is in the jailhouse, because he's in jail now. And just off the top, he's in jail because he manipulated the Stormy Daniels lady that had gone after Trump. He stole like $350,000 from her book deal. And then he tried to extort Nike. And I think he only got like 2 years, or he got 4 years. And then he went up for parole 2 years later, which is just recently, and he didn't get parole. So he's like, he made a statement that says something like, I'm going to always be known as a, you know, something, I'm paraphrasing here, a lawyer with no credibility. Yeah, yeah, you certainly are going to be always known as that. But check out this relationship between this Daryl Johnson and Avenatti, y'all.
People say that I can't make up with people. Let me tell you something. This guy and I, we were adversaries not long ago in connection with the R. Kelly matter, right?
That's right.
We have reached common ground. We have reached common ground. We're going to break some bread here, make up.
We've been long life friends anyway.
All right? We've been all right. We've been all right.
That's
You know
right.
what? We have found common ground, and it's all about justice.
What was
That's right.
the dispute in the beginning, though?
The dispute, well,
But we never had a dispute.
he and I never had a dispute.
We never split. I always said Avenatti was a brilliant attorney. I had no problem with Avenatti. The problem I had was with some of the things that have been said. Avenatti's always said genius stuff. He's been a brilliant attorney. So with me, I was a fan always. And I told that, I said that on CNN.
All right.
And let me tell you something. This guy, you know, being a spokesperson for R. Kelly, this guy took chicken shit and he managed to make a little bit of chicken salad. And I always respected that. You know what I mean? I always respected that. So it's all right. That's good.
Yeah, ain't that cute? Oh, ain't that cute? So so it's not, to me, it's not a stretch that he would do what is, that he would be part of what we're about to get into, which is this Richard R. line. Okay. And then also it was brought up that, the same guy, this Gerald Johnson, that he, tried to bribe, and this makes absolutely no sense, that he tried to bribe a bailiff because they're saying that Kells was heard or recorded or something saying, how much do I need to tip the bailiff? Now, somebody tell me, how are you going to tip the bailiff and it have anything to do with keep preventing a witness from testifying? So that doesn't even make sense. Let me check these comments real quick. Hey, Toria, thanks for pulling up, girl. We just getting into it. You right on time. Let's see, man or female. That's how me and my ex-wife did that. Okay, you're going to have to give me some additional details on this, sweet love, Mac Dime. He was acting like head honcho. Yeah, he's just too much. Shout out to Ashley Jason. The victim would work with Michael Avenatti, right? They were. And Michael Avenatti, before he ended up getting locked up, of course he appeared credible until he was found guilty. It's like, you swindling folks. Said they always say Stormy, but never mention he was the attorney of some R. Kelly accusers. Absolutely. He certainly was. These two crooks are in the jail system. Yeah, that's what I'm still trying to figure out, is if Daryl Johnson did get some time. He said, yeah, they broke some bread. Alvera, you always say something, girl. Absolutely right. They broke some bread, all right. Two crooks in a pot. Shoot, it's ridiculous. So let's get into our boy Arline. Pull my man's picture back up real quick. You know, he testified in the New York trial for Kells and accused him. And actually, because I had mentioned this the last time too, that hold on, y'all. Yeah, because this is what Bongine had brought this up in one of her motions. Hold on. Bongine had brought this up in her motion way back in March, where she's saying that testimony from Addie, Alexis, Kate, Anna, Angela, Lewis, and Alex. Angela supposedly is the girl that pulled up to an apartment that had already had condoms in her purse. And according to the testimony, her and Kells was about to get it in, and she asked Kells, ain't you going to put on a condom? And so Kells was like, do you got one, or something of that nature? I'm freestyling because I don't have the document in front of me. And so she held up for a minute, went in her purse, pulled out some condoms, and then went to work. So this is, and so her, and then Lewis is actually this guy right here, which is Arline, which he testified. And you know what, y'all, there's some testimony where, and this is so crazy, y'all, I just can't. This guy says that he witnessed a time when Kel's, says he witnessed a time when Kel snapped his fingers and some naked girl came out from under a boxing ring. I guess they were at a gym or something like that. And a girl was naked up under the ring and she came crawling out. I mean, that just sounds really fantastical. You understand what I'm saying? And then he goes on to describe, maybe I'll just go into detail on that on another one, unless it's in this what I'm about to read to y'all tonight. But this guy, and he's married, and it's just too much. It's just too much. That's right, Jason. This is BS. Shout out to Prospective Me. The cache audio recordings let everyone he was sent by the Clarys. Prospective Me, I want to drop the link for you to come up because I know you have some additional insight, girl. Mac Dime said, my sister, even Tasha K, has information on Johnson stealing. Yeah, and I did mention that last night too, Mac Dime, that Tasha K interviewed all of the people that Johnson ran the game on. He's real good with it. He's real good with it. Let me see. Yeah, please hit the like button as you come in. All right, so let's get to let me get to what this Carla, you said, but the problem is they're always coming to him and lying about their age. Absolutely. That's the problem. And even with what we talked about last night, because I was giving that a lot of thought, and I understand. Again, I said this yesterday. I understand why June wants the government not to be able to elicit testimony from minors 4 or witnesses 4 and 6 or whatever. But if the judge agrees to that, then again, that's going to leave gaping holes in Kel's ability to defend himself. So Bonjean's motion to that is really, 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 really going to be the thing to watch. We got to see how she's going to address that. Okay, so our favorite boy, Arline. Okay, so the special agent with the United States District Home Office, Homeland Security, he's with Homeland Security Investigations. He wrote out a nice little, about a good 20-page statement talking about how all this came together. And he says he's responsible for conducting and assisting investigations into activities of individuals and criminal groups responsible for sex and human trafficking and related offenses. And he's saying that he's participated in investigations that involving debriefing of sex trafficking or sex abuse victims, review of telephone calls, site locations, blah, 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 GPS data. So I know they're going to try to pull this man in as an expert witness. I know they're going to try to do that. So the U.S. Attorney's Office for Eastern District of New York and the Department of Homeland Security Investigations, New York Field Office are investigating Robert Sylvester Kelly, a.k.a. R. Kelly, and others for participation in racketeering enterprise involving bribery, extortion, the production of child pornography, transportation. We're hip to all that, y'all. But he goes into and says on December 5th, 2019, the grand jury returned a second superseding indictment, adding an additional predicate act of bribery. So on March 12, 2020, the grand jury returned a third superseding indictment against Kells. Among the charges against Kelly in the indictment were offenses that carried a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence based on Kel's sexual relationship with Jane Doe and an individual whose identity is known as Affian when she was just 17 years old. Okay. So this investigator had an opportunity to look at phone calls. He says a review of telephone records for a cellular telephone used by Arline shows that he communicated with 2 phones that had previously been used by Kelly prior to Kel's being incarcerated in July 2019. Said the records also show that Arline was in telephone contact with telephones believed to be used by individuals. And again, here we go with the I-1, the I-3, the I-4, and the I-5. It's like, come on, y'all. My goodness. Anyway, but they know, Kels and the rest of the team, everybody knows who these people are except for us, okay, the public. Um, the records also show that Arline Jr. was in telephone contact with another telephone number that were also in telephone contact with Kels prior to his federal arrest and incarceration, July 2019. Now, just off the top of reading that, if um, let's see, the guy says that this happened in December 2019 and that Kells was arrested in July. Yeah, I think that's correct. Um, check that now. Incarceration in July. Yeah, 2019. So that means whatever phones y'all was looking at, if they happened after Kells was arrested, that's not our problem. That shouldn't be Kells' problem. All right. So it says on January 8th, Jane Doe began cooperating with the federal law enforcement. Several news outlets reported that, of course, she turned. All right. January 9th at 3:16 a.m., somebody began using an Instagram account, Rich Dollars, with the vanity name of Hood Rich. And they sent Jane Doe a message and said, what is said here? Said based on a review of publicly accessible content, Hood Rich Instagram account, they're saying that was certainly our line. Says that on or about May 26, 2020, I1, who had been in communication with Jane Doe, exchanged a series of text messages via iPhone. And so I1 says, I have something to tell you. Rob is trying to get his cousin Rich in contact with you because he wants to pay you for silence. Rich called me and I said, who you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. I said, she's done with Rob. She don't want nothing from him and he won't, and she won't sign her name away to the devil. And see, this is where I think it's that guy, Daryl Johnson. So following her receipt of the above text message, Jane Doe advised a federal law enforcement agent involved in the investigation that she had gotten this text. And at the direction of federal law enforcement, Jane Doe thereafter continued to communicate with I1 regarding subject matter of Cousin Rich and payment by Rob. So Jane Doe hits back and goes, I'm just curious as to how much Rob is trying to give me. What did he call? When did he call you? Because he texted me in January after everything in Chicago. So the boy hits back and goes, hiya, I just called Rich and he wants to do a 3-way call with us. Can you do that right now? And she goes, oh man, can we do it another day? I'm busy. I woke up late. And so he goes, well, Rich talked to Rob. Rich talks to Rob on the regular. And the only reason why I know Rich is telling the truth, because Rob told him to get in touch with Bear. And Rich asked me who was Bear. And I said, it was you. So on May 26, 2020, at the direction of law enforcement, Jane Doe initiated a phone call and she called I1, whoever that is. And in this document, they're referring to I1 as Kel's cousin. So she called him and it says she called him and they conferenced our line and I1. Okay. That's what I don't like about this transcript. It's just too much going on in here. Anyway, they got in on a 3-way call and it says a few hours later at the direction of law enforcement, Jane participated in a telephone call with Arline Jr. over the Arline telephone number. The telephones were recorded by law enforcement with the consent of Jane Doe. So yeah, she told him, yeah, y'all ready to record this? Huh? Can y'all hear me? Is my mic on? Can y'all hear me? Mm-hmm. So it says here, a law enforcement agent listened to 2 calls described in the above paragraph during their transmission, and law enforcement agents have also reviewed the recordings of the calls. In the calls, Arline and Jane Doe repeatedly referenced the first name of I1. Jane Doe has advised that I1 was a close associate of Kel's who had access to Kel's funds since Kelly was incarcerated in July 2019 at a federal detention facility. So I-1 could very well be Darrell, which, anyway, let me check the comments real quick in case somebody in here knows who's on first. Let me see. Does anybody need me to drop the link? Bone sheet emotion will be powerful. She probably waiting so no one can challenge hers in their motion. Let me see. Alvera says he was given less time to lie on his. Girl. He was given less time to lie on the stand. If Kells was into men at all, it wouldn't been these old lives. When we were never given any evidence on this guy bribing as they spoke on it. Yeah. See, remember, Arline was trying to dress and smoke cigars like Kells. No man does that. Be yourself. Ain't that the truth? Let me see. Right. Well, Alvera, boy, you dropping bombs, girl. Let's see. Trying to see what's up here. Okay. So how would that guy have phones Kells used? The government took all of Kells' stuff. So that's a flat out lie. Absolutely. Shout out to Sir Miguel. Good evening to you, sir. Thanks for pulling up. Let me see. Who is this I-1? Yeah, so I'm gonna keep going through it, y'all. But so see, when we get to this, it makes me think it could be Darrell. Because Darrell ain't spent no time in jail. I'm sure he was free. And right perspective, it looks like entrapment. Let's see. Yeah, we all want to know. Everybody knows but the public, y'all. Shoot. All right. So it said, the law enforcement agent listened to the two calls and Jane Doe gave them permission to record it. Then it says, law enforcement agents have further reviewed telephone calls placed by Kells or at the direction of Kelly, which calls are recorded pursuant to the Federal Bureau of Prisons policy to record all non-legal calls placed by inmates and have determined that Kells regularly directs I-2 or others to direct I-2 to make certain distributions of money. And I said before that if they had Kells on a hot mic, that's what this would have said. We would have had documentation that said, Kells made a phone call. We heard him tell I-1, do this, do that, do this, do that. But instead, this guy's saying that they heard Kells on a phone call and he did call I-1 or I-2. And that, in these conversations, Kells does tell the people what to do with his money, etc. And then even is that even true? Or are they just saying that because then so they can now kind of get Darrell off the hook? Who knows? I don't believe none of this stuff. It says, in substance, during the recorded three-way telephone call described in what I just described, Arline discussed a proposal in which Jane Doe would receive $500,000 in exchange for not continuing to cooperate with the government against Kells. Following is a transcript of a portion of the three-way call. Okay, so Arline called her up and he goes, they threw out a number. And Jane Doe says, so what's the number that they threw out? And he says, I talked to I-2 and he was kind of like, hey man, what do you think you can do? Cause I threw out a number. I'm thinking 100,000. He was like, man, she ain't gonna go for that. And Jane Doe jumps in talking about never. So Arline says, I'm like, well, what you thinking? He's like, $500,000. And Jane Doe says, I wouldn't go for $500,000 either. He said, oh yeah, well, listen, I-2, what you trying to do? So Jane Doe then told Arline Jr. That she would need $1 million. And she wanted Arline to send her a small sum of money within the next 24 hours as a sign of good faith. That wasn't her idea. That was the FBI telling her to do that because they was trying to make it stick. But see, the FBI should have been make it clear that Kells is the one, blase scoop. Do that. But, that's why I don't think, and that's what they should have done. And if they tried to do it, they didn't make it happen, or it would be in this transcript. So during one of the consensually recorded telephone calls described, Arline explained how he had communicated with Kels, who at the time was incarcerated. So Jane Doe says, I just want to know, how are you? How are you talking to Rob? Because, I mean, at least when we were talking to him, he was saying that his calls were limited and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, yeah, you trying to get information. And so Arline goes, yeah, he talk. He normally he talks to I too. I too. Yeah, I too. Yeah. And Arline said, yeah, so normally he talks to I too. He has I too call me on like a three-way. I don't know. He's apparently stuttering. I don't know what number I too has for him, but he normally calls me on three-way calls. And before he went to jail, he wanted me to get in contact with I-1 so I got in contact with I-1. Me and I-1 go to school together. So then Jane Doe jumps in and goes, yeah, right. I remember him telling me that. She's lying. She's trying to get it going. That's the only time I could remember him ever mentioning you. Yeah. But he told me, like, that's something different. Like, I-1 was getting in touch with you. So Arlen goes, yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the hell he be having going on. The stories or his lies or what the hell he got going on. I just know he got some issues. I love him, but he got to fix the issues. And when I talked to him about you personally, he said, can you get in contact with Bear and fix it for me with I-1? So I reached out on Instagram first. And Jane Doe goes, so when did he call you to fix it? Like, did he email you? Because around January, when he reached out to me, we were just emailing each other. So how did he reach out to you? He called you, like, from the MCC? Like, see, she trying to get some details, like, do we got a burner phone in there? Blah, 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 blah. She said, so Arline goes, trying to exactly remember how the hell did it work out? Because I remember that it was a little bit after his birthday or something. I had talked to him. And Jane Doe goes, right. He goes, yeah, so, that was around that time. Then we ended up talking again, and he was like, can you see what's going on with Bear? And can you keep this between you and me? And I-1. But he always never really wanted to mention the names over the phone. Always never. But he always never really. Okay, yeah, that's my line. And so she goes, right. And so he goes, so I really don't know I really don't know who Bear was because I-1 told me. I mean, let me check the comments, y'all. Because don't this sound like a hot mess to you? Don't this sound like a hot mess? And you had enough days and times, Homeland Security investigator, to get her to say some specific questions if you was trying to hem Kels up. But she didn't ask the right questions, and he didn't give any information. And again, when they did bring Arline up on charges, he didn't allocute and say, Kels told me to do it. And Ann Donnelly, our favorite judge, didn't ask him, did Kels make you do this? Because she probably already knew the answer. That's why they didn't try to press it. Whew. Aren't those telephone calls illegal? No, they're not illegal because Jane Doe gave him authorization to record the call. So, because remember, as soon as they got in contact with her, she reached out to this investigator, to the feds, and said, hey, somebody trying to holler at me, and what y'all want me to do? And so then that's how they move forward in it. And the thing is, if this was an investigation already going on, it wouldn't have been hard to, get a warrant and all that kind of crap. And I think Illinois for recording is a two-party state. But if you're under investigation, then the feds can control it. Let me see. He didn't have. Thank you. Thank you, Mac Dime. Aren't the jail calls recorded? Yeah, yeah. And that was one of the things where they said in here in this transcript that the reason why they could identify the phone calls that our line was on is because there were a couple of times when Kels made phone calls, he did, he was recorded talking to I2 or I1, and he was telling them, hey man, I need you to do this or I need you to do that. And it was probably, I need you to reach out to Greenberg or, the swindler and, drop them, whatever. But they didn't have the juice, because if they had the juice, it would be spelled out. It would be spelled out. And then with our line, they would have made him go into detail so they could have that on record that, yes, I did it and Kels told me to do it and blase scoop. But they never got that. Let me see. Alvera said Kels was worried about paying his attorneys. He didn't have funds to be paying people off. Let me see. Yeah, they call each other Bear. They call each other Bear. Who is this I2? So, Jason, good question. Okay, in my mind, I2 is either Darrell or Daryl. So either Daryl or Darrell. They're either I1 or I2. I don't think there's anybody else in there. But again, I wasn't covering this from the jump. So again, if anybody's in the chat that knows what time it is, and you think you have a best guess, hit us up, drop it in the chat so we know. You said, they trying to figure out if he has a phone in there. She's scandalous. Yeah, very scandalous. So you're saying no when they recorded Kels. Oh, when they recorded Kels, I think he was on a regular phone. That's my understanding. He wasn't on no burner phone. If I'm understanding your question correctly, Mac Dime. I'll drop the link. You can come up here and ask the question so that I'm understanding you precisely. All right, just let me know. Where was our line gonna get the money from? He had something else up his sleeves. You know what I think? I think our line was trying to get the hookup. That's what I think. Our line thought he was going, either our line was trying to knock some boots, or our line and Jane Doe conjured this up. You understand? I think that, I think there was something to it, because it to me, that's what I think. Now, maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist. I don't know. But that's what I think. Either our line and Jane Doe was in this thing together. Definitely, I feel like our line was trying to, he was trying to put in a little bit of work. All right. So the agent goes on to say, based on my participation in this investigation, there is probable cause to believe that in this telephone call, our line explained that Kels and I too maintained contact with each other while Kels was in jail, that on or around Kels' birthday, which is January 8th, 2020, that I2 called our line while I2 and Kels were speaking as they discussed Jane Doe. Bear is a nickname used by Kels for Jane Doe. But if you notice, this agent doesn't say that they captured the call. So the agent knows that a phone call was made, but they don't say what they heard on the call. Okay, which tells me Kels didn't do this conspiracy thing. He didn't tell nobody to pay off nobody. But anyway, as set forth below, during one of the following calls, described in paragraph 9, our line also made clear to Jane Doe why Kels would pay for her silence, which he stated he learned from I2, either Darrell or the Daryl Johnson swindler out of Houston dude. Okay? Our line says here in this phone call, so, but like I'm saying, I don't want nothing. I tell you to go past with me, and you, cause I see do your YouTubes, like what? How you talking, our line? So, but like I'm saying, I don't want nothing. I tell you to go past with me and you, cause I see you do your YouTube. Oh, so this is a YouTuber? Or is it more lies? Jane Doe says, who you talking about? And Arline says, I see you do your YouTube shit and I ain't trying to be part of that type shit. I just want to be part of what, nigga? What you want to be part of? She cut him off. She cut him off. She goes, well, if this is to go through, like none of that would even happen. None of that would even matter. That would be irrelevant. That wouldn't even happen anymore. What wouldn't happen anymore? I just need to figure out, like, I'm just trying to figure out, how do you even know that this is something that Rob even wants anymore? That's all I'm trying to see, because that was in January. And Arline said, he what? He what, Arline? He definitely won't. From what I4 told me, and from what I'm hearing from other I2, have you ever heard of I3? So it sounds like he's making this stuff up as he go along. Let me check the chat. What y'all think? Do it sound like he's making this up as he go along? This might be why and Donnelly was like, just admit to it. I can't go through all this. It's just doing too much. Alvira said, where was Arline going to get the money from? He had something up his sleeves. I don't think Kells was in contact with Arline and his buddy. He had always stole money. He had already stole money from Kells, so I don't think he would be trusting that. Thank you. Perspective Me said, you're back. You want me to drop the link, Perspective? Let me know, girl. Kells also called Joy Bear as well. Absolutely. They called each other Bear. Sounds to me like this was a setup from the government and Jane to make the Rico stick come through. They was looking for some meat to throw on them bones. The deal was already in place. Say, who is this? Who is this Jane Doe? You're our favorite. It's our favorite person, Jason. This dude never spent any jail time, right? He paid $100 and got time served. And during this time that he was, before he was sentenced, the man got to go to Jamaica for a week and Vegas for a week. All he needed was the court to say, yes, you can go. But brother was living large. He had it going on. So Jay Time, you're saying it was Dr. Rice. Ooh, the plot thickens. Oh, the other person was the cousin Blackie. Wow. Are you talking about kick a man when he's down? These folks just came out. I think, oh man, anyway, okay. So Jane said something and they redacted that. Because Arline had said, have you ever heard of I3? Whatever Jane's response was, that is redacted. Now, why y'all redacted? Arline says, no, I'm talking about I3, one of his homies. I3. And Jane Doe says, no. Okay, well, I2 and I3, remember his homies? I4, the lawyer. She says, sounds very familiar, actually. Right. So basically with them, they're telling me that they claim that you got some shit. I don't know what the F you got, what you might got, some videos or some iPads or whatever you might got, your story. They just want that to disappear. You know what I'm saying? She goes, yeah. I don't really, like I said, I don't know what you got, but they asked me to do something. They asked me to do something. I really don't got no contact with you. I hit you on IG. I hollered at I1 one time about it, and she ain't really said nothing. I faded away from it. So I1, the way in this, unless this is a typo, is identifying I1 as a she. So the investigator goes on to say, based on my participation in this investigation, there is probable cause to believe that I4 is an attorney who has represented Kells, but does not represent Kells in the United States versus Kells criminal docket. I'm not sure which one this is, y'all. Yeah, but does not represent Kells in the criminal docket currently pending in the Eastern District of New York, or the federal case currently pending in the Northern District of Illinois. So who could that be? So it says a review of Arline's records show that he called a telephone number listed on I-4's website on 3 occasions. And the agent says, based on my participation in the investigation, there's probable cause to believe that when Arline said they claim you got some shit, some videos or some iPads, and your story, they just want that to disappear, he meant that I-2, I-3, and or I-4 told him that Jane Doe had access to electronic records evidence that could be used against Kells, and that they wanted Jane Doe to not tell her version of events regarding her relationship with Kells, i.e. her story. Well, they just stretching it. They just stretching it. Mm-hmm. There's further probable cause, this is the agent, there's further probable cause to believe that when Arline said they asked me to do something, he meant that I-1 and I-2 asked Arline to contact Jane Doe, and that when Arline said, I hit you on IG, and I hollered at I-1 one time about it, and she ain't really say nothing, I faded away from it, that he was describing the steps he took to put into action the scheme to bribe Jane Doe. Specifically, Arline Jr. referenced the time when he contacted Jane Doe by sending a message to her Instagram account and explained that he had asked I-1 to get in contact with Jane Doe, but when I-1 did not, he didn't take any further action until now. Okay, so that's interesting because if they sent you on a mission to make all this go away, Arline, how'd you fall back? How did you fall back? If I-1, I-4, I-2, R2, you feel what I'm saying? A, B, C, D, if all them folks, utilized you and your genius to facilitate this bribe, why was it so difficult? You had all these players in the game. How come you fell back? Why didn't they hook you up? Why didn't they, how come it didn't happen? I think you tried to do this on your own, bro. You didn't do this under the direction of anyone. Shout out to my love, Sean David Way. My sweetheart. Thanks, Sean, for pulling up. But if Arline had all these people and he had all this juice and he was, coordinating all this, then why did it take so long why was there so much difficulty with the coordination of it? Let me check these comments. At the end of the day, Azriel didn't have nothing. Toria, this is sure a setup to me perspective. Shout out Just a T, please. Thanks for pulling up, y'all. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Replay gang, leave a comment. I want to hear from you. Feel the Glow says, will Chicago trial be televised? I don't think they allow that because I was checking that too. And I think that in Chicago, they don't allow. They don't allow that, but I'm not sure. I was checking that out too, Fields. So that's a good question. Yep, no, it's federal as well. Yep. Please hit the like button. Amen. Thank y'all. Carla McWilliams says they ain't got no tapes because if they did, they would have showed it by now. Facts. Perspective said, I remember Dr. Rice talking about she tried to set him up, that situation, but I believe Blackie was involved. Yeah, I heard some stuff about old Dr. Rice, which that's what I'm saying. Everybody saw Kells, in a trick bag. They saw him caught up, and everybody, the sharks came out and said, how can we take advantage of this man? Okay. So again, this agent said that specifically Arline referenced the time when he contacted Jane Doe by sending her an Instagram message and explained that he had asked I-1 to get in contact with Jane Doe, but when I-1 did not, he did not take any further action until now. Thereafter, at the direction of law enforcement, Jane Doe continued to communicate with Arline over his phone number and with I-1 regarding payments by R-Line to Jane Doe. No, hold on. I had to sip some water on this because wait a minute, did I read this? Okay. Thereafter, at the direction of law enforcement, Jane Doe continued to communicate with R-Line over the R-Line phone number and with I-1 regarding payments by R-Line Jr. to Jane Doe. So it sounds to me like now not only is Jane Doe talking to R-Line, but she's also talking to I-1. Does that sound like that to y'all? It sounds like that to me. So it says she continued to have this conversation with R-Line and with I-1 regarding payments. At 1:01 a.m. on May 27, 2020, Jane Doe sent a text message via iMessenger to R-Line that read, it was her Cash App. Like somebody really getting ready to Cash App you $500,000. That's why Cash App now wants to report anything you receive over $700 because of this. I'm joking. It says here she sent him her Cash App and she says, I'm going to bed. Today has been a long one. Talk to you later. R-Line responded by iMessage and said, okay, good night. On May 27th at 12:03 p.m., R-Line sent a text message via iMessage to Jane Doe stating, good morning, yeah, first name of I-2. I-2 said, Rob don't have that to give. Guess he's going to take his chances. If you ever need an opportunities, let me know. Yeah, because you a baller, ain't you, R-Line? Mm-hmm. Later that day, Jane Doe sent a message via iMessage to I-1. So now she's talking directly to whomever this is. It better not be that Daryl Johnson. It just better not be him. Says later that day, Jane Doe sent a text message to I-1 that said, I feel like he was, and then she used the Pinocchio emoji. How he say Rob had all this money and then say nothing, and another emoji. At 6 p.m., she said initially at 6:10 p.m., 2 minutes after I-1 apparently read Jane Doe's message, I-1 said in part, like I said, you and I both know Rob was low on funds. And again, Rich hasn't spoke with Rob since January, so I don't know. Now that to me should have been enough for them to say, let's stop this little nickel and dime ass investigation because we ain't got nothing. We ain't got nothing. We got to figure out what to do now to make Kels look guilty. That's probably why they only made R-Line pay $100 and do a time served because they really didn't have nothing. Gee, many crick, this don't make no sense. I love R. Kelly. I love him too, girl. You can't Cash App that amount of money. Ain't that right out here? But you're going to send a Cash App for, to receive $1 million? Come on, y'all. Come on. That's the setup. That is a setup. Let's see here. Hold on. So a little over 3 hours later at 9:30 in the evening, I-1 wrote in part to Jane Doe. So Rich just told me Rob will give $300,000. Jane Doe answered in 2 separate text messages. In part, she says, did Rob speak to Rich? Because he literally just said, I too said he didn't have money to give and would take his chances. And that just doesn't make sense. Did one of them talk to Rob? So this is telling me that more people should have been brought up on this bribery. Now, whoever's out in the chat, who else brought up on bribery for this? Do we know? Because somebody should, if all these folks were talking to Azriel and this Homeland Security investigator recorded and got all this because Jane Doe said, yes, I consent to you recording my phone calls and accessing my voicemails and messages and stuff like that. And you got all this cross conversation going on. How come only one person was brought up on some bribery and he didn't even do time and only had to pay $100? Huh? Just need to know. Alvira, hold on. What'd you say? That dumb. Alvira said that dumb R-Line didn't. Said, damn, R-Line, you had one job. You couldn't even do that. Shoot. You couldn't even do that. So we know that you couldn't handle this, bro. Get on up out of here. Let me see. Perspective said, but they had to make it look a certain way to the media. Absolutely. So it says here on May, because again, Azriel or Jane Doe said, that doesn't make sense. Did one of them talk to Rob? So on May 29th at 12:40 p.m., our line sent a text message to Jane Doe that read, I'm in Florida. And significantly, Jane Doe resides in Florida. At the direction of law enforcement agents, Jane Doe thereafter called our line's telephone and consented to the phone call. During the call, our line told Jane Doe that he was in Miami. Their call was then cut off. Now see, I would like more detail. It was cut off because somebody hung up the phone. It was cut off because the cell towers were jacked up and the call dropped. Or it was cut off because law enforcement is only authorized to record the call for purposes of the investigation and not anything personal. Is you feeling me out there? Because that's why I said this is what makes me think that they had that our line was either trying to get down what to get down, or these two, our line and Jane Doe, had a previous relationship, but the call was cut off. Like, how so? Carla said everyone was at the bag. Then they started acting like dogs at a bone. Come on now. You can't cash up that kind of money. Let me see. Perspective said media's got to make it look a certain kind of way. They used him also in the trial to say that the lady. That's what I see now. You know I ain't lying. Exactly. They used him also in the trial to say he saw the lady come from under the boxing ring and the sex act with Kells. They found another way to use him. But you know what else I read? Okay, our line described, and it might be in this document. If it is, I'll read it to you. But our line described the encounter that he had with Kells. And I'm telling y'all, when I read that, I'm like, Kells don't move like this. This I hope it's in this document because I don't went over so many documents, y'all. I just can't keep track of all of them. I said, he said Kells, he said Kells got on the floor and crawled over to our line and serviced our line. I was like, I'm sorry. I done seen too many clips of R. Kelly, and I'm certain that's a lie. I'm certain that ain't what Kells did. Said all people need to keep an eye on their cash apps. They were hacked 2 months ago, and over 359,000 people's accounts were hacked. It was on World News. Yep. Thanks for that, Toria. Thanks for that alert. Right, Alvera Ward, but he admitted he was only there because he was offered a deal. Let me see. Tori said, I'm old. Do not all these newfangled things, cash apps, PayPal, blah, 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 old fashioned. I send cashier's checks from the bank or money order Western Union. Have to get it in there in a hurry. I know that's right. All right. And then Alvera, you're saying that your perspective is right. The government said, no, you're going to do what we need you to do or else. Right. That's what it is. And like I said, the Chicago trial's coming up. The clock is ticking. The countdown clock is ticking. And our line gets out real good. Okay. All right. So he texts her. He says, hey, I'm in Florida. And hold on. Yeah, they I don't know if y'all can hear these firecrackers out here, y'all, but they firecracking like a mug. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so the call was cut off. All right. So 7:35, our line sent a text message to Jane Doe that said, I thought She told you I was coming out here. I would have bumped into you and holla at you. And yeah, also told him or her I was vacationing in Miami and we could have talked about everything. The investigator says, based on my training experience and participation in the investigation, I believe that in these texts, Arline was referring to his belief that I-1 had told Jane Doe that he was traveling to Florida. I thought she told you I was coming out here. And his interest in seeing Jane Doe in person, I would have bumped into you and holla at you. On June 3rd, 2020, the Honorable P. Kevin Castile, United States District Judge for the Southern District of New York, authorized the interception of wire and electronic communications occurring to and from Arline's phone for a period of 30 days. Monitoring of Arline's phone began on June 4th, 2020. The wiretap did not capture FaceTime calls or iMessages sent or received. Huh. See, they mess. On June 10th at 7:51 p.m., Jane Doe, at the direction of law enforcement, sent a text message via iMessage to Arline, which read, "Hey, haven't heard from you in a minute. We still good?" Arline said, "Yeah, we good. How you doing?" And Jane Doe said, "Haven't heard from you, so I don't know where we stand." It says these iMessages were not intercepted over the wire, but Jane Doe provided copies of these messages to law enforcement. For real? Okay. Okay, copies. All right. On June 10th at 8 p.m., Arline called Individual 5, an individual who has posted a series of interviews on his YouTube channel that were favorable to Kelly, including, among others, an interview of I-2. At the beginning of the call, Arline said, "I ain't heard from you in a minute." I-5 responded, "Oh man, yeah. You know, I had done talked to I-3. He said he gonna hit you up, and I know you has been in contact with I-4. So Arline said, "Well, how would you feel if I told you I might be able to get you Jane Doe?" A minute later, Arline received an incoming phone call from Jane Doe, and Arline told I-5 that he would call him later. I-5 said, "All right, call me back." Right. So at the direction of law enforcement, Jane Doe called Arline. At the beginning of the call, apparently in reference to Jane Doe's iMessage, and Arline said, let me see. Now, what you mean by how we stand? Because last time I heard from anybody was I-1. And she was like, "What's that? What's the most you think he will give me? Whatever." Like then I was like maybe 300,000, and she was gonna holler at you, and I never heard nothing else from either one of y'all. So I really don't know what's going on. Yeah, she was acting like what's the most he probably would give her, and I told her what him or her what he said, what they say. I mean, damn, what kind of conversation are you having, Arline? How could the court even accept this? Damn. What was that static in the line? Damn. And it was gonna get back with you. So ain't nobody ever get with me. Maybe the price was so low. She said might purchase a house, but then and I definitely told him that he got about like 300 to give. Jane Doe explained that I-1 had not relayed anything to her. Okay, so y'all hear all these lies. Jane Doe explained that I-1 had not relayed anything to her. She then asked, "So have you talked to I-2 or anybody?" And Arline said, "Yeah, I was just on the phone with him like about 8 this morning." Then they had the following exchange. Jane Doe said, "Okay, well, 300 is okay. So I just need to know how we gonna get how we going to, like, go about it? And Arline said, oh yeah, well, yeah, I'll call him. And tell him that she said that's cool. Like I said, it was like, that was like shit, like near 2 weeks ago when I went hit me and was like, what's the most? And I told him that shit, and I don't know why she ain't get back with me. Like, that's what he lying. Mm, he's lying, y'all. He's making this shit up as he's going along. I don't know why she ain't get back with me. Like, that's what I asked to do like 2 weeks ago. So apparently she cut him off. She goes, but what did I2 say? Oh, I talked to I2 and they about some different things. At the end of the telephone conversation, Jane Doe asked Arline for a three-way telephone call between Jane Doe, Arline, and I2. Arline answered, I'll set it up. After Arline concluded the phone conversation with Jane Doe at 8:17 in the evening, Arline called I5. This is really the game telephone, y'all. When I5 asked what's she trying to do, Arline answered, she trying to get money. I5 answered, I know how to do that. Arline then said, her ass, man, she thinking Rob gonna pay her to be quiet. Like, man, that shit ain't finna happen. Now, see, listen, y'all. I'm about to read this real nice and smooth, and this is direct transcript from what he said on the phone. Watch, it's gonna flow. It ain't gonna be no stuttering. Watch. He says, let me start here. Her ass, she thinking Rob gonna pay her to be quiet. Like, man, that shit ain't finna happen. Trying to get I2 on the phone, see what he gonna do. Cause in a minute, I'ma tell her ass, man, F it. Cause I might holler at I4. And I4 was like, nah, he ain't trying to pay nobody else. But the old Rob, the Rob I know, like, I4 don't speak. But Rob, if I had talked to Rob on the phone and Rob had got the money, he gonna pay from Jane Doe to be quiet. Like, if I had a way to talk to Rob, being next to him and telling him what's going on without nobody listening, no feds, nobody, he gonna pay her ass off to be quiet. She got too much. So it wasn't no stuttering in that. And at the very beginning, he was like, man, she thinking Rob finna pay her to be quiet. Like, man, that shit ain't finna happen. Yeah, he wasn't lying. He knew what it was. Shout out to Panama City. Thanks for pulling up, girl. Thank you. Let me see. Lil Mac said, prosecutors will do anything to win. I see that watching TV shows like How to Get Away with Murder. Ain't that it? Corey, shout out, said, hopefully she does the right thing and give R. Kelly a new trial or acquittal. Yep, and we're still waiting on Ann Donnelly to make a decision on those motions. Toria said, now the court's letting this fly, having a bad thunderstorm may lose internet, but I hope not. Okay, might lose internet. Okay, stay safe, girl. The judge may be trying to figure out how to deny R. Kelly. You know that's what's going on, Corey. Got to be. Y'all be sure to hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for pulling up, y'all. Replay gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Lil Max said, how did Judge Annally let this... Thank you. How did Judge Ann Donnelly let this crap in? Thank you. Well, see, this is a whole separate... But I get your question. And that's what I'm saying. This is a whole separate case. And that's why when Arline, and let me just put this up here for, that's why our man right here, that's why he didn't serve no time. That's why all he had to pay was $100. $100. That's all he had to pay. And all while this was going on, before this thing was finally adjudicated, this brother went to Jamaica. He went to Las Vegas. And he was at both of those different locations for at least a week on each time. So he was straight up vacationing. Let me get back to this here. Out of control. Out of control. Let me see here. See, where was I? See, got a new spokesman. Let me see, y'all. Hold on just a minute. I-5 mentioned that Jane Doe. Uh-oh. Okay, yeah. So we back off of that smooth conversation where you said, man, that shit ain't finna help me. So during the conversation, I-5 mentioned that Jane Doe might be in cahoots with the FBI and questioned whether a financial settlement with Jane Doe for her silence would even help Kells at this point, explaining that several of the victims named in the indictments against Kells had previously received settlements from Kelly and suggesting that Jane Doe could not damage Kelly too much. After Arline and I-5 ended their telephone call, Arline sent a text message to Jane Doe, and this is what it said. He got a new spokesman. Said Rob not willing to pay you, but was instructed to help you make money in a major way. Based on my participation in this investigation, there is probable cause to believe that he referred to Kelly. When he said he got a new spokesman, this investigator is saying that Arline was probably referring to Kells. Like prior messages, this iMessage was not intercepted on the wiretap, but was provided to law enforcement by Jane Doe. So she was keeping meticulous records. Yeah. She making sure that the feds had everything. At 9:12 p.m., Jane Doe, again, at the direction of law enforcement, called Arline and told him she was confused. Arline responded, yeah, so shit, all I know is I just seen some shit that just blew my mind. Oh, he's starting to lie. Oh, Lord. So shit, I called just, so shit, I just called I-2. Like I told you, I ain't really been talking to him about y'all since we talked, which was about 2 weeks ago. So I just called him right now. He like, man, holler at I-5. I'm like, why I need to holler at I-5 for? He like, man, I-5 doing everything for now. He's speaking for Rob. He's talking for Rob. And I'm like, I'm thinking he bullshitting. He like, man, go check out the video. So I go check out the video. I-2 having a live interview with I-5. And basically Rob is talking to this dude named I-5 now. What? And basically Rob is talking to this dude named I-5 for now? I'm checking the comments, y'all, because see, oh my goodness. The judge know damn well she should have thrown all that out. Shout out to Shannon Lewis once again. As was trying to set up Dr. Rice, she didn't know that he was typing the whole conversation. Dr. Rice played the tape on his channel. He knew exactly. Ooh, Jay. Send me the link, Jay. Hit my IG and drop the link for me. If that video's still up. Do-up, shout out. I pray Ann Donnelly does the right thing. Yeah, I hope her conscience gets pricked. Ann Donnelly is, she's definitely in competition with him, in my opinion. Corey said, does R. Kelly have 4 lawyers now in the Chicago federal case? I do believe so. I believe that Bongine added 3 additional people to the team. But yeah, he has more than Donnelly now. Linda Alexander said, because Ann Donnelly, ooh, girl. I ain't mad at you. Perspective said, yes, Corey. Let's see. Dr. Rice was taping. Yeah, and my knowledge too is Dr. Rice and got caught up with Geronda, our Olympic fence jumper. Yeah. Okay, Geronda. Kelly got 4 lawyers. Hey, doo-wop girl. Yeah, listen, thanks for pulling up. How about that? All right, so let's get into this now. And when he said this dude is talking for Rob now, that's that video that I played earlier. Matter of fact, I'm just going to hit it one more time just so the replay gang will know right now what we're talking about. So peep the gang, y'all.
Our relationship is I work for Mr. Greenberg, a part of Mr. Kelly's team to help him navigate his way through this court process. I'm a crisis manager. That's what I am. That's what I do. I come in and I help my client navigate, and that's what I'm doing. I don't know the savages. I talked to the savages 1 or 2 times. I set some meetings up. They canceled the meeting. The meeting didn't happen. That's what happened.
Are you speaking on behalf of Mr. Kelly? Mr. Kelly, did he ask you to speak?
On what? He doesn't have to have you speak. I'm hired. That's what I do.
And he's hired you. You're hired through the law firm, not by in person.
I work with Mr. Kelly and Mr. Greenberg.
Okay.
So if I speak, I'm speaking.
People say that I can't make up with people. Let me tell you something. This guy and I, we were adversaries not long ago in connection with the R. Kelly matter, right?
That's right.
We have reached common ground. We have reached common ground. We're going to break some bread here, make up.
We've been long life friends anyway.
All right? We've been all right. We've been all right.
That's
You know
right.
what? We have found common ground, and it's all about justice.
What was
That's right.
the dispute in the beginning, though?
The dispute, well,
But we never had a dispute.
he and I never had a dispute.
We never disputed. I always said Avenatti was a brilliant attorney. I had no problem with Avenatti. The problem I had was with some of the things that have been said. Avenatti's always said genius stuff. He's been a brilliant attorney. So with me, I was a fan always. And I told that, I said that on CNN.
All right.
And let me tell you something. This guy, you know, being a spokesperson for R. Kelly, this guy took chicken shit and he managed to make a little bit of chicken salad. And I always respected that. You know, I always respected that. So it's all right. That's good.
Shut up, Avenatti. Shut up. This doesn't even make no sense. So could this be the attorney? Even though we know Avenatti never represented Kells. But that just goes to show us that this Daryl Johnson person, because if I was Greenberg, I would have been like, how do you feel about Kells? Because all Daryl had to do was say, well, you know, I think Kells is the P word, and so under those circumstances, then he would have never got on the case. You know, anyway, so we'll save that for another time. All right, so during the conversation, Jane Doe asked, so whose idea was it to pay this $300? And Arline said, no, so when I-1 called me, she said, what's the most? I said, wait, hold on. I told I-2, like, shit, it'll probably be somewhere in the 300s, looking at how much money this nigga got. So I went back and told I-1 300. That was 2 weeks ago. And apparently there was an audio glitch. And I-1 never responded to me. So when Jane Doe asked, Jane Doe said, and now I-5 is, and so that means I-5 just came in play about 2 weeks ago? And here's what Arline said. Man, probably, I think probably about a week ago or so, where he been putting this shit in place, where he doing all the talking for me shit. Because he told me, because I talked to I-4 as well. I talked to Holla at I-4 about this money situation too. And she was like, nah, we ain't doing that. And I was like, why? And she said I-5 name too. She is like, oh, the lies, he's lying, y'all. She is like, she be on some other shit. She be on some old other shit though. So that's like when I first talked to him or her, I hollered at him or her, and I too to see where they was at with this shit. And that's when we all started talking, but she knocked it down right away. But I too was like, yeah, you probably could try to work it out. So he never had it. There was never an agreement. There might have been a conspiracy, but Kells ain't had nothing to do with this. Because everything that I'm reading is what they caught on the record, on the phone, they don't have anything that says I talked to Kells and he told me to give none of that. The judge's gonna pay for this shit. Girl, thank you. There's some BS. All of this needs to be thrown out. Clearly, this is a hot mess. Ain't that the truth? The entire case should be thrown out. I'm from Chicago. We ride together. Kelly ain't coming home and lose. I know that's right, girl. He ain't coming home to lose. When he get home, he gonna win. Come on. Yes, all of them. It's all just horrible. The coordination of this is enough for the judge to have said, you know what, if y'all don't get the hell out of here with all this entrapment. But again, this is the level of evidence that Judge Ann Donnelly allowed our favorite AUSA, Elizabeth Geddes, to present in that New York trial. She let all this choppy, sloppy, half-baked stuff come in. She let all that come in. But now that Bongine is on the case, yeah, they're going to have to clean up. But this is why, at least for now, June Brown is saying, you know, they're making these motions. We don't want you to be able to ask accused witness or victim witness this question about me or this question about me. Yeah, they know Ann Donnelly is going to overturn some rocks. So they are still trying to hem Kells up to where he really can't even defend himself. But for Donnelly, it's the only way Kells is going to get a fair trial coming out the gate. All right, so the agent says, based on my participation in the investigation, there's probable cause to believe that in the 2 weeks that Arline mentioned, suggesting that Kells would pay $300,000 for her silence, and the time of this is June 10th, 2020. The telephone call, the situation may have changed, including by putting I-5 as opposed to I-2 in charge of the strategy for Kelly, and that I-5 may be less inclined to participate in a direct payoff of Jane Doe. It wouldn't matter. This still ain't got nothing to do with Kells. Y'all still ain't got nothing in here that says Kells said to do it. At 9:27 p.m., Arline called I-5, told I-5 that Jane Doe wanted to have a three-way phone call. Arline and I-5 agreed. The three-way call finally took place at 9:45. During the telephone conversation, Arline clarified in substance that after Jane Doe initially requested a $2 million settlement, Arline contacted I-2 and I-3, and they said in substance that Kelly could not afford a $2 million settlement. Arline Jr. explained that the $300,000 settlement came about when I-1 called him and asked how much, and that I-3 then called I-2, who suggested $300,000. Let me back this up real quick, because they said during that telephone conversation, Arline clarified in substance that after Jane Doe initially requested the $2 million settlement, Arline called I-1 and I-2, and they said in substance, Kells could not afford a $2 million settlement. Now, they didn't say, we talked to Kells and Kells said he can't afford that. They gave their own opinion. They don't have Kells on wire. They haven't implicated Kells in this at all. It goes on to say here that I-5 then told Jane Doe that I-5 would contact I-2 to find out exactly what I-2 meant, and mentioned that I-3 had called I-5 2 weeks ago, and that I-5 and told I-5 about the situation. Following that phone call, Arline and I-5 spoke again, and I-5 suggested that Jane Doe was a loose cannon. On Friday, June 11th, Arline traveled from Chicago to Houston, Texas, to celebrate his wife's birthday. During the trip, on June 12th, at the direction of law enforcement, Jane Doe called Arline and told him, let's just go with the settlement. I don't know. He goes, I don't know if she says, I don't know if I-5 got back to you. Arline ended the telephone call by telling Jane Doe, let me see what's going on. I have an answer in the morning about the money. On June 14th, I3, our line called I3, but the telephone went to voicemail. The call went to voicemail. I3 twice tried to return our line's call, but our line didn't pick up the calls. On June 15th at 10:45 in the morning, our line and I3 finally connected. During the call, I3 said, I talked to I5. He said you would hit him up. And our line said, oh yeah, I talked to him a little bit. Our line explained that Jane Doe wanted money to be quiet. Our line explained that I5 said it would be futile to pay her because Jane Doe probably would not end up cooperating with law enforcement. At the end of the call, our line, who was still in Houston, said he would hit I3 when he got back around, when he returned to Chicago. To date, Jane Doe has not received any money from the defendant, Richard Arline Jr., and it remains unclear whether Kales, I1, or as you were, whether Kales, I2, I3, and I4 implicitly or explicitly authorized our line to negotiate a bribe on behalf of R. Kelly. Period. Point blank. There's more to it, but that's all that matters. Even to this day, they never found anything that said that implicated Kells as part of this bribery. But these brothers sure did try to work it out. And I think the problem is they couldn't figure out how to get the money. Because if they could have got the money, would Jane Doe have even ever seen it? You heard what I said? It sounds like people just inserted themselves inside of Kells, trial and tribulation. And anywhere they thought they could hit a lick, that's what they intended to do. R. Kelly was set up. Come on. Absolutely. Had doo-wop, nothing to do with this period. They didn't even prove any connection between Arline and Kells. Arline was acting on his own behalf. The defense could have proved that. That's why they turned him into a John Doe, right? Turned him into a John Doe and they called him Lewis in the New York trial. Linda says, Robert Sylvester Kelly going to be one of the richest men on the face of the earth when this shit is over. I believe Avenatti and Jim, boy, it take the folks, the brothers over there at Mad Pill on YouTube to call the Grotus Peter Griffin. Look just like Peter Griffin. So I believe Avenatti and the Grotus tried to blackmail Robert. I believe they tried to get in on it too. I believe that too. Because if you look at Avenatti, brother was riding high. When Trump first came into office and he was representing Stormy Daniels, Avenatti had the world eaten out of his hands, but greed got in the way that he even stole from his own client and then thought he was so, pardon the expression, but balls to the wall. You try to extort Nike? You're just a one-man firm, damn near, Avenatti. At least you were at that time. You gonna try to go after Nike? Come on, man. He got senseless. Whew. Is this judge a Trump-appointed judge? Good question. I don't know. That's definitely something to look into. Let me see. If it is, yeah. Oh, no. Ann Donnelly was appointed by Barack Obama. And as a matter of fact, we talk about Trump. She was blocking all that immigration crap that Trump was trying to do when he first took office. She was the one that stopped all that, stopped him from just going, bat crap crazy with the immigration laws. That was her. So I don't know. Right. Let me see, y'all. Oh my goodness. Sad to say, but he better be inside at this point rather than be out trying to entrap him. This speaks volumes, and they don't have anything. They don't. Well, the judge is just plain and that judge is just plain and simple paid off. Something's wrong. What I really do believe is the judge relied on Getty's up in New York. That's who the judge was like, yeah, I know Getty's, she's gonna, stop, stop all sex crimes and Blase Scoop, stop all that. So I'm just going to let Geddes do whatever the hell she wants. I know she's great. But now that all this has come out and Bongine has come through and literally just dismantled the quality of work that Geddes and her team went for. Geddes and them had no standard. And now that Bongine has put it out for everybody to see, now Ann Donnelly she really is looking a little silly right now. Because if Bongine would have represented Kels in the beginning, first of all, Kels would have been home. And second of all, he wouldn't have been found guilty. They probably wouldn't have had a trial. That I truly believe. So Donnelly was slipping. And I think that's one reason why she's taken so long. But what I don't like is the fact that, what I'm saying is why she's taken so long to finally respond to Bongine's motion about an acquittal or a retrial. She's still moving forward with the sentencing and all that stuff and getting all that in line. But I'm wondering if she's going to take the coward's way out and, deny the motion like an hour or two before Kel's sentencing trial is supposed to start, and then just leave it up to, Bongine and them to file an appeal. You know what I mean? That's what I'm wondering, because it don't take you that long to see. We see it. Oh, the weightlifting geek, shout out, bro. Thanks for pulling up. Thank you for pulling up. Appreciate you. Daryl Johnson and Michael Avenatti was working together the whole time. Come through, J Time. Was working together the whole time. Two no good con artists legally, because we know one of them got indicted and one of them is in jail and couldn't get probation. Kelly knew all of them. MS was up to no good. Yeah, hit the like button, y'all. Share, subscribe if you haven't already. Exactly. He was already a thief. A thief in sheep's clothing. The government in Chicago federal case, don't R. Kelly have to have a defense trying to block everything? Well, we know that June Brown is trying to, clear a pathway for him, for himself. And, Bongine hasn't had a chance to respond to the last two motions that came in, one from the government trying to put Bongine on a tightrope, and then the one from June Brown trying to, put a detour and just bypass anything that could have, like one of the things in June Brown's motion was, we do not want the government to ask minors 4 and 8 or whomever, whatever the hell their name is, anything about how they got the hotel. How did they get to the hotel rooms? We don't want the government to ask June Brown, ask the witnesses on the June Brown segment of it, how were they picked out of the concerts? Because we know Kels pulled one of the girls up out of the concerts. So the way they got this thing constructed, if all this is approved, what's going to happen is they're going to, they'll be like, okay, Kels had sex with these people. Okay, I rest my case, because they want to prevent everything else. They want to prevent conversation or even allowing Bongine to even come through with some cross-examination about how did you get backstage? Who authorized you backstage? So they're trying to set these parameters. But Bongine, we know she's going to prevail. We know this. I read it. I think yesterday, Corey. I think I read it yesterday. Arline was a thief that got his own self caught up to pay. They used in exchange for no jail time. No jail time, $100, and the opportunity to star in the Northern Eastern District of New York trial. That's what he got out of all this. He damn sure ain't got no credibility, in my opinion. He been said a long time ago that he didn't trust none of them people in his circle, and he was trying to get free of all them in his circle. Yeah, hard, and probably hard to do when you don't know where to turn, and everywhere you turn, somebody holding out a trick bag. Alvira says she's probably trying to find a way to say no. She won't want public outrage. Right. That's what I said. She's going to wait till just to the last minute, do the sentencing, and go out the back way. That's what I believe that the judge is She's trying to be strategic. People say, right? Linda Alexander, Kelly knew they were coming. Kelly knew they were coming. Been want all them. Come through, Linda. God, Linda, you represent for him. You representing, girl. Let her lawsuit after she leaves Supreme Court. He's going to be straight. We boycott her after she go. Oh, okay. Just post it somewhere so I know what y'all fun to do so I can see. And if I'm in the neighborhood, I'm going to pull up. Well, y'all, I don't know. Like I said, ain't nobody said in the comments, drop the link. So I presume y'all don't want to chop it up. But I don't know. It's a lot, y'all. So I did see that the judge in this Illinois case did say that all motions in limine, that they need to be in by, they gave a specific date, but I think by the end of this month. So it would probably be safe to think that it's going to be motion after motion after motion dropping pretty soon, because in that motion yesterday that we went over, that's the other thing that June Brown had stated in the closing of their motion, that, they want to be able to submit additional motions in limine as more information is revealed as far as evidence, or I forgot the technical term, but as more is disclosed as far as what Illinois is going to do and what they're going to use for their evidence, they want to be able to come in and argue against it or position themselves. So I would think that there's going to be a few more motions coming down the pike. Plus, we're still waiting on Bonjean to address the one from last week. So, well, y'all, listen, I appreciate y'all pulling up. I really, really do. Thank y'all for pulling up. But that's it. That is the podcast. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. If you haven't already, Replay Gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. And until next time, y'all, we will see ya when we see ya. Welcome to the Only Male Cruise Show, the podcast. I am the Only Male Cruise. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe. Replay Gang, leave a comment. You know I want to hear from you. Copyright disclaimer regarding fair use is in full effect. The views and opinions expressed in this show, you guessed it, they're all mine. Let's go to work.